Mama's still inside. My grandson's cry in front of the raging flames startled me. This happened during a sudden fire at my son's house. His mother had disappeared without a word to the family 2 years ago. We couldn't even find any eyewitness reports, and the truth remained a mystery. Didn't your mama leave? I questioned my grandson's words, confused. But when I saw what the firefighters brought back from the flames, I was left breathless. I had been living alone for 2 years since losing my husband at 60. It might sound lonely, but I was content with my life. The reason was the presence of my son's family living nearby. My son Aaron had married a woman named Claire, and they had a son, Jacob. Seeing Aaron living happily with the model beautiful Claire and adorable Jacob always made me feel happy too. I believed this everyday life would continue forever, but I first noticed something was off when I visited their house one day. "Hey, Claire. My mother's here, so hurry up and bring some coffee." "Oh. You don't need to go to such trouble. This is why she becomes such a thoughtless woman when you spoil her like that. There aren't many fools like me who'd marry a woman like her, so she needs to understand that." I frowned at Aaron, who seemed oddly proud of himself. They usually got along well, but on this day, he was picking on Claire for some reason. I felt uncomfortable seeing her bring coffee with a troubled smile after being spoken to so harshly. "Now, Aaron, that's not the way to talk, is it?" As I accepted the coffee, I felt I couldn't let this slide and spoke up to my son. Sweet Claire was brushing it off, but his attitude was a bit much. "No matter how old he gets, I'm still Aaron's mother, and I wanted to correct his mistakes." But to my surprise, he sulked, saying, "This has nothing to do with you. Forget it. I'm in a bad mood." And he shut himself in the bedroom like a child. Jacob also looked anxious in this tense atmosphere. "Papa's been like that sometimes lately. It wasn't like this before, was it? Did something happen recently?" Feeling a tightness in my chest at Jacob's sad voice, I looked at Claire. However, she just smiled slightly and said, "He seems irritated because work's been busy. Please don't worry about it." She seemed to want to smooth things over. "Well, if that's the case, I won't pry, but remember, you can always talk to me if anything happens." In the end, I left their house that day without uncovering the reason for Aaron's bad mood. Although the uneasy atmosphere bothered me, I thought it wasn't good to meddle too much in a couple's problems. Then, a few weeks later, I encountered another strange scene. Oh, Claire and Jacob. Out shopping, just the two of you. I spotted them by chance when I went to the nearby supermarket. When they turned at my call, they both had gloomy expressions for some reason. "You don't look well. Did something happen?" The scene from my visit to my son's house immediately crossed my mind, but Claire once again put on a smile and calmly said, "It's nothing. I'm just a bit sleepy." However, that wasn't the only thing that felt off. While feeling suspicious of her forced attitude, I glanced into their basket and saw it was filled with a large number of pain relief patches and disinfectants. Did someone get hurt? Jacob wasn't doing any sports, was he? But before Claire could answer my question, my son appeared. It seems he had been in the restroom. Oh, Mom's here too. Sorry, but we're in a hurry, so see you later. And without much conversation, Aaron hurriedly led the two of them to the cash register. My son's forceful attitude, Claire and Jacob's somewhat frightened demeanor, and the pain relief patches and disinfectants. I need to have a proper talk about this. Finally feeling that something was definitely wrong, I watched their retreating figures and made up my mind. A few days later, I decided to visit my son's house again. However, it seemed my actions were already too late. Hello. Oh. Is Claire not here? Actually, she left home. Without any contact. I was speechless at Aaron's bitter words. When I heard the story, it seemed that right after we met at the supermarket that day, she suddenly disappeared without saying anything. Her parents had already passed away, and there was no way to contact her. We've already consulted the police, but there's no eyewitness information. I felt helpless looking at the completely dejected Aaron and Jacob huddled in the corner of the room. I had vaguely sensed something was off with them, but I never imagined it would come to this. But there's no use in just feeling down. I'll look for her too. I'm sure she's all right. Let's pray for her safety. I patted them both on the shoulder to encourage them, and decided to search for Claire to help them return to being the happy family they once were. However, contrary to my wishes, we couldn't obtain any useful information, and the situation didn't progress at all. Meanwhile, Aaron bravely continued working, but Jacob became withdrawn, probably due to the shock. It's no wonder, given that his beloved mother had disappeared. Where on earth did she go, leaving behind such a sweet son? Feeling frustrated, I continued to watch over the two left behind. And then, 2 years after Claire went missing, just when I thought we might have to give up, a certain incident caused the situation to take a sudden turn. It happened one day when I had gone out shopping. The moment I left the supermarket, I noticed quite a commotion around me. Listening to the buzzing voices of people, I heard unsettling words like, "There seems to be a fire." As if to confirm these words, a fire truck with its siren blaring passed right by on the road. And when I looked in the direction the fire truck was heading, I had a bad feeling. That direction, it's where Aaron's house is. Since it was still time before he would be back from work, the only one who might be at home was 7-year-old Jacob. Thinking something might have happened to him, I found myself running towards his house before I knew it. I was praying it was just a misunderstanding, but sadly, bad feelings often turn out to be true. Oh no. Jacob. The place where my son's house should have been was engulfed in large flames. Pushing through the surrounding crowd, I tried to approach the house in a daze. I didn't know the situation, but there was a possibility that Jacob was still trapped inside. But at that moment, I heard a familiar voice call out, "Grandma." When I turned around, startled, there was Jacob being held by a firefighter. It seemed his life had been saved by the fire brigade that had arrived quickly. Seeing Jacob safe and sound, I breathed a sigh of relief for the moment, but the next instant, he cried out towards the raging flames, "Mama's still inside." His unexpected confession made my eyes dart back and forth in confusion. "What are you saying? Your mama left 2 years ago, didn't she?" "No. That was Papa's lie. Mama's still inside, so please save her." Confused, I gripped Jacob's hand tightly. I didn't understand the situation, but judging from his distraught appearance, it didn't seem at all like Jacob was lying. And his words were soon to be proven true. "It can't be. Claire. Is it really Claire?" The firefighters who had entered the house after hearing Jacob's words came back carrying her, blackened by the smoke. Next to me, unable to comprehend what was happening, Jacob burst into tears. "It's all Papa's fault." The shocking truth revealed afterwards left me breathless. The next day, I was quietly waiting for someone at my home. The story I had heard from Jacob after that was so cruel that it was hard to accept. However, that's why I had taken certain actions to ascertain the truth, with a strong determination in my heart. And after waiting for a few minutes, finally, the intercom of my house rang. "Mom! Where's Claire?" When I opened the front door, there stood Aaron, sweating and out of breath. He seemed to be in such a hurry that he entered the house right away and started looking for Claire. Watching my son's behavior with a somewhat sad feeling, I called his name. I lied when I said Claire was waiting. "I thought you'd come here if I said that." "Ha! Why would you do that? Where is she then? Don't tell me the fire." I quietly gazed at Aaron, whose face had suddenly turned pale. Believe it or not, even after hearing about the fire at his home, he hadn't come to pick up Jacob and had gone into hiding. I had a pretty good idea why, but nothing could start until I heard the story from my son's own mouth. "She's at the hospital with Jacob. She's severely injured, but her life isn't in danger. But before that, there are things we need to talk about, aren't there?" "I don't have anything to." It was a lie that Claire had gone missing, wasn't it? As my son stiffened, I recalled the story Jacob had told me right after the fire. According to him, Aaron's claim that Claire had left home 2 years ago was all a lie. In reality, Claire had been locked up in a hidden room at the back of the house and forbidden from leaving. He had lied to the neighbors just like he had to me, saying she had gone missing, and of course, he hadn't filed a missing person report with the police. Jacob too had been threatened. "If you tell anyone, both your mom and you will suffer even worse," so he couldn't ask anyone for help for a long time. Even more unbelievably, my son had been doing whatever he wanted, hitting Claire and not giving her food. And when Jacob, unable to bear seeing Claire so weak, tried to cook something for his mother, a kitchen paper towel nearby caught fire from the gas stove, leading to this fire. "Keeping her locked up for 2 years, why did you do such a thing to her?" Thinking about Claire's feelings, I asked Aaron in a trembling voice. Claire had been treated horribly by her own husband and was thought to have gone missing by everyone around her, so she couldn't even call for help. How scared must she have been, alone in that dark room? However, in response to my question, my son's face turned red with anger. It's Claire's fault. She was making eyes at other men besides me. Ignoring me as I widened my eyes at these unexpected words, he angrily slammed his fist on the table. As I listened to his story in shock, it seemed that Aaron was quite a jealous person. For example, he couldn't stand it even when Claire just talked to male coworkers or shop clerks, and he often hit her. The pain relief patches and disinfectants that she had been buying in large quantities when I met them at the supermarket must have been to treat her own injuries. I made Claire quit her job, and I started going shopping with her, but still. In the midst of all this, a decisive event occurred. One day, when they were out as a family, Claire's beautiful appearance backfired, and she was hit on by a man while walking in town. Of course, Claire wasn't at fault, but my son who saw this flew into a rage. Just like when I first noticed something was off, he treated Claire coldly for a while, and then decided to confine her to the house. When she pleaded, "Please let me out," Aaron inflicted even worse treatment on her, calling it discipline. I just loved Claire. I didn't do anything wrong. It's her fault for showing openings to other men. As my son raised his voice in anguish, trying to justify himself, I was at a loss for words. It's true that Claire was quite beautiful, and I can somewhat understand his worry, but that's no reason to do such inhumane things. No matter if it was an act born out of love, it wasn't Claire who was wrong, but Aaron. Faced with my son who had changed so much, I took a step closer to him, harboring complex feelings of anger, sadness, and frustration. "You will never see her again." "Why not?" "She's alive, isn't she?" "Because I'm going to turn you into the police, of course. I've been recording this conversation too. There's no escape, so be prepared." Aaron's eyes widened at my words. Actually, thanks to the fire department's valiant firefighting efforts, the house was only half burned, and the room where Claire had been confined maintained its shape. Moreover, with the testimony of the firefighter who rescued her and Jacob's testimony, the police had already started an investigation into Aaron. Even if that evidence alone wasn't enough, with this recording, it's almost certain that he'll be arrested. But I just loved Claire. What's wrong with that? Realizing what was about to happen, Aaron collapsed to his knees the next moment and started crying. I didn't want to believe that the son I had raised with my late husband had done such things either. However, he's a full-grown adult now. No matter how much he cries like a child, he needs to take responsibility for what he's done. The only thing he can do now is to atone for his crimes and live on. And I must guide him to walk the right path from now on. Don't you think you should atone for your crimes? When I raised my voice, Aaron looked up as if startled. Then, holding back my tears, I met his eyes. "Let's go to the police together. You have no other choice left." At these words, Aaron finally seemed to give up and hung his head. And so, I headed to the police station with my now docile son. After that, Aaron was arrested as there was sufficient evidence. Naturally, Claire and he divorced, and she was awarded $30,000 in compensation. Aaron won't be out of prison for quite some time, and even after his release, a restraining order against Claire will be issued, so he will never see Claire and Jacob again. I've also cut ties with Aaron, and now the three of us, Claire, Jacob, and I, have moved to a different town and are living a new life. Claire had to continue hospital visits for a while, but now she seems to be recovering well. From now on, we plan to regain our peaceful life and live happily together.